So today's painting, I'm going to be doing a study of a screenshot from one of my favourite films, Dune, and this will be the scene where the sandworm first shows itself in the first film, and there's little portraities in the bottom there. So on my other screen, I've got this screen grab here. That's my reference material. I'm going to try and make it not exactly the same, but the practice here is to see how quick I can capture this scene. So let's dive right in. So as per usual, I like to muddy up my canvas, which basically gives my canvas a little bit of texture. There's nothing worse than starting a painting on just like a fresh white canvas with nothing on it. It's a kind of oil painterly technique, and all this texture shows up underneath it in the finished painting as well. So yeah, I always say that in my art paint-alongs, always muddy up the canvas if you want to get a nice painterly look to your work. Another thing I normally do next is plot out my horizon line. So this is quite a high horizon line. I'm going to set it about here. And then let's use my smudge brush just to move some of this paint around. You don't want a completely dead straight line. I always try and make my work look like the least amount of digital. What am I trying to say? I like to make my work not look digital, basically. Is what I'm trying to say. Right, let's get this sandworm in. Honestly, this is one of the hardest things for me to do, is paint and talk at the same time. I'm not even very good at talking when I'm not painting. I always fumble my words, but talking and painting is a challenge. I don't know how you proper teachers do it. Take my hat off to you guys. So this film was shot by Denis Villeneuve, and he is definitely one of my favourite directors. I mean, look at this simple composition. This is all you need. It doesn't need to be too complicated. Whoops. Just as simple as the flat plane of the rounded sandworm in the middle. Like, this film is just a masterwork of just simple compositions, and simple is usually better. If you can create something really stunning with just a few basic shapes like this, just circle onto a flat plane, then you're basically a genius. I feel like I always hide my work in details. Like, oh, if I add loads of detail, then it's going to be better, but that's not always the case. Alright, so I'm starting to flesh out this shape a little bit more. Just building up different colours and values. Just keeping it as loose as possible. Just keeping an eye on the darks and the lights. And then we can work on the details afterwards. Maybe I'll put in some of these sand dunes in the back here. Yeah. And then, so let's give it its shape. So you can see the light just poking out in the back of the shape there. Maybe I'll start to do some of his teeth in a second. So that side is mostly sand. Quite a lost edge. That's what you call a lost edge. Like there is an edge there, like the edge of where the worm's coming up, but you can't see it because it's the same value as the desert in the background. A lost edge is a great artistic technique you can use to make something look nice and painterly. Hopefully you can't hear the background noise. I've got my noise cancelling setting on my mic on, but yeah, living in Thailand like I do can be an issue because if you live in a condo, there's always construction going on, so you can constantly hear drilling and all that lovely stuff. So hopefully you can't hear it. All right, let's add in some of these. Maybe a brush like this. We're going to add in some of the teeth. So they all follow a bit of a pattern, don't they? Like this. And then kind of stop around here. And all come to a circle shape. Getting this Wacom Cintiq, like I'm using right now, is one of the best investments I've ever made. If you want it to feel like you're really kind of drawing in a traditional way, painting or drawing in a traditional way, get one of these. It's a much more natural position to be in as well. Right, so quickly we've got our pretty much got our basic composition here. Let's do our little portraites and the bottom here. Just a little guy. Little portraites. It's like a triangle, and then he's got his Fremen clove, and then his arms are out like this because he's like, oh my god. Lady Jessica's actually there as well, but maybe I'll just do Paul. Start to add a little bit of secondary detail, little sand dunes kicking up here and there. Bum, 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 bum. Now we can also do the edge of the worm as well. He's got like his little lips. Can you call them lips? I guess so. Let's do, but first we'll do some shadow down here. How long's this video been? Almost 10 minutes, that's not bad, is it? This is what you call speed painting. Doop. A little bit less saturation. That. Have you noticed, like, I just kind of like move around the painting a lot? Like, I don't stay in one place for too long. You don't want to just overly detail one section and then you zoom out and then you're like, you've overworked one area and there's some fundamental mistakes with it. You need to work at it small bits at a time. Well, so not small bits at a time, you know what I mean, what I just said. Don't stick to one area for too long. Put some extra light on these teeth here. What a simple design for the sandworm as well. But it just works. It's great. What I might do now is change my brush, actually. Let's get a bit more of some softer edges, increase the saturation a little bit there. And then let's blend some of these edges here as well. Nice. Cool. So it was quite a simple composition. I knew I wasn't going to make this video too long, so I chose a fairly simple thing to paint. But yeah, look how quickly you can get something together. So now I'm just quickly going to move it around with the liquify tool, because I feel like this needs to be over here a little bit more. So this is basically just like sculpting. You can just play with the shape. Push that out a little bit more. Again, it's just a study, so it doesn't have to be exactly the same. So in a second I'm going to use some nice texture brushes so we can quickly... So see, what you've seen me do now is like I'm getting in the light and the shadow. So that's before any real texture. So you want to recognize where there's light coming in, like here. There's a bit of light coming in there. Might be too much. And then where the shadow is as well. So let's pop out this a little bit more. And obviously what it looks like is the light's kind of going this way. So this side's going to be shadow that I'm working on now. And then obviously that means this side is going to be lit. So it's kind of a lighting setup that I use quite often as well. Just a side light. Gives a nice cinematic vibe. There's our lost edge there I was saying about earlier. Now these can signify some sand being agitated, and because don't forget this is supposed to be sand, so just quickly add in some small little details to kind of signify the sand being moved around. Maybe I'll increase the light there a little bit more. Might have been too much actually. Back it off. And then where your focal point is, so this is our focal point. Obviously you want to look straight in the middle, have your darkest values, because then that draws the eye into the painting. Do, do, do. Do, do, do. Okay, cool. Let's get some nice textured brushes. How long have we been? 15 minutes. Not bad. All right, so let's get some textured brushes. And right, so what one do I want to use? You can get my brush pack that I'm using right now on my website, markgrahamartist.com. I'll put some links below, just in case you wanted to have a play around with them. Just brushes I've collected over the years. These I find the most useful. You really don't need that many brushes, but it's nice just to play around with different brushes. It's like oil painting. It's like depending on how you use your brush, you get different textures out of it. So it's kind of the same thing, rather than just painting all the textures by hand all the time. See, look, this will be like in a traditional way. If you was to like get a sponge or something and then just dab it along the surface, it's going to make little marks like this. This is just purely just for warm up and practice. You need to just constantly stay on top of your observational skills, and it's important to do these little studies. And then you're studying how other artists and directors play with light and shadow and composition. It's always good to study other people's work. Every day's a school day, y'all. Right, let's use another brush. This is a kind of nice, like, textury brush again. And a nice traditional look that I love. Let's have some darker values up here. Again, this is really just loose, but I love this kind of painting, like this loose style. It's just, I like loose and expressive artwork. But I feel like if you're not careful with digital, you can lose that. But luckily, there's some great brushes like this one available that can kind of get you that nice textured look that some people like myself like. And then you can use different techniques, like this mixer brush I use a lot. Basically just smudges the paint around that's already on there. So stuff like this, it kind of gives it a bit more movement, like the sand's being blown about and flicked up. You could just go bam, just run your brush straight through it. And then it just looks a little bit more arty, doesn't it? I'm going to leave it at that. And then I'm probably going to spend another 10 minutes just doing detailing. But basically detailing is just exactly the same as what I've just been doing, but just zoomed right in. That is it. So hope you enjoyed painting along with me. And I'll see you in the next video. There's my thumb. Peace, y'all.